While I was writing the second book, Nonfiction Writing Power, the one thing that I kept coming back to that I found really fascinating was that in primary classrooms, K1, 2, 3, there's a lot of emphasis on story, on narrative, on personal narratives, on writing fairy tales and stories. But actually writing a story is very complicated and complex, and it's very difficult because the structure of a story is very difficult. You have to have the character, the setting, the problem, the solution, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's a complicated structure, but nonfiction writing is so much easier to do because it's almost a formula. And once you know that formula, once you know the structure of persuasion, it's so much easier to teach, and it's a lot easier for children, I think, to feel success in. So what I'm noticing teaching the nonfiction writing lessons is some of my more reluctant writers find that once they have that formula and that structure, they actually would do a better job at producing a piece of writing than possibly they were when we're saying now we're going to write a story. Because story writing is very complicated, and I wonder now, why don't we reverse it and have the older kids, you know, who have a bit more understanding of structure, you know, do the stories, and the younger kids do the nonfiction. But the interesting thing too about the nonfiction writing power is it's very, as I said, it's like a formula. And in the formula you have the structure, the skeleton, but there's also some key words that really work to support the specific form that you're writing. So if you're writing, here's an example. If you're writing a comparative piece, when you're describing two things, but you're talking about the similarities and differences, there's specific words that really help children to explain those similarities and differences. But unless we give them those words and we don't give them that vocabulary, they're going to find it very difficult, and the writing's going to be a little bit boring. So the example I use is if you bring in an apple and an orange, and you have children just start brainstorming, what are the similarities and differences? You start out with similarities. What are the similarities between an apple and an orange? And they can brainstorm. And the word they often use to describe those similarities is the word and. An apple grows on a tree, and so does an orange. We're talking about differences. The word they always use is but. An apple is red, but an orange is orange. An apple is crunchy, but an orange is, because the word but is the only word they know. So I'm going to teach them some but replacement words, which gets them laughing. But replacement words, what are but replacement words? However, whereas, on the other hand. And so it's words that aren't necessarily in the vocabulary, but as soon as you give them those words, their writing becomes so much more, it sounds more professional. So I call it grown-up writing. And so the kids will be saying, you know, an apple is red, whereas an orange is orange. And all of a sudden, you've elevated their level of writing, makes them feel more confident. But it's just giving them, it's like giving them the keys to the car. The car's just sitting. If you give them the keys, then, you know, they can take off. So I love the fact that it is so formulated, and it does give kids that structure that makes them feel successful in their writing, whereby sometimes story writing, kids have a hard time. They have a hard time ending a story, solving the problem, coming up with some kind of, you know, great moral. I read so many children's writing, and it will just stop. Like, and I'm looking for the end, where's the last page? Or it'll say, and it was just a dream, right? That's how they end it, because they don't know how to end it. Story writing is hard, and nonfiction writing is much, in my understanding now, it's much simpler.